Mike, you can catch Mike at The Athletic. He's got the Football GM pod. That's on Saturdays via The Athletic Football Show. And there's a whole lot else that Mike Sando does, and I think he's just one of the best. So we're really appreciative that he's taking time, halftime of that big ball game, to talk to us about a little NFC West and a little everything around the league. Mike, we were just talking offline. If you had to pick one Super Bowl, and we're at the 4/17 mark of the season, the first quarter just sounded a lot cooler, but if there's one Super Bowl that you'd really like to see, would be the most fun to watch, what would it be?
Yeah, today's results notwithstanding, how about an all-LA Super Bowl with Justin Herbert and the Chargers against the Rams, because you'd have the great Staley, McVay. They're all like friendly in public, but like they didn't agree to do training camp together this year. There's competitiveness there, and I think there's competitiveness for that market. And the Rams have kind of looked down their noses a little bit at the Chargers. They couldn't fill those little stadiums, and yet Chargers have Herbert. It's kind of like it's on in that market a little bit. Maybe not for the fans yet, but if Herbert elevates them and sort of becomes the next great thing and is better than Stafford, I think that would just be an awesome matchup. Yeah,
Make, what do you got?
Two young quarterbacks, Burrow, Fields, Bengals, Bears.
You're an asshole. You are an asshole.
Hey, that's a combined 5-3. Bengals, Bears.
You're right. They're hot. Those teams are hot.
Mike took my answer.
Say 10 years from now. We said this year,
Yeah, no, you took my answer. Rams, Chargers, those colors.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
I mean, we'd have to approve because
let's not do what we did today in the uni with the Rams. I don't like the blue on blue. They have so many better options.
Blue.
What about have the Chargers fans showed up? Has it been like an authentic Chargers crowd there? Or has it been like a transient kind of thing?
I actually don't know that. I haven't been there yet to see them. It's crazy. I mean, I haven't even been going to games with the pandemic and stuff.
Right. It seems loud. It seems like it's been packed. I mean, you're like using
Raider fans. Did they have a Raider crowd?
I thought they sprinkled in a little bit of the Raider crowd. Maybe the cameras knew where to pan to make it look like there was still like a black hole.
Yeah.
They had the celebrities. You have the Guy Fieri's, but you also have the dude with the painted face and the spikes on his shoulders. Rocco?
Probably.
Oh, you don't know his name? No. What about the Bills and the Cardinals? This is very reactive. I said something a couple weeks ago, and I got killed for it. I said Kyler could be, and people, when they quote you and they don't put the emphasis on the syllable there. I said he could be, if he fixes a couple things a game, the best football player on the planet, at least the most scary football player on the planet. You know how Lamar had that run? This could be Kyler's window, and I wonder if you agree.
It's hard to argue with how it's looking right now, and I thought he played pretty well last year, and then he got hurt. So really the concern for him is just, we've sort of all adjusted to seeing somebody that small playing the position. It was kind of distracting the first couple of years. You're like, geez, this guy is way smaller than everybody, and you're a little bit afraid for him. And last year, the second half of the year, he was hurt. So, and Kingsbury's teams haven't exactly been great finishers, right? You go back to college. So that's really what it is. It's sort of a macro, big picture concern for them. I think when he's healthy and going, there was inconsistency last year, some ups and downs, but he looks pretty good to me, and he makes some spectacular throws.
Yeah.
He's not just somebody who you only have to worry about, like when he throws, you're worried too.
Yes.
So, I think I love that about him. And, he took a little bit of a rap too this last off season. Like when you talk to people in the league, kind of like questioning his makeup a little bit. What I mean by that is traditionally the quarterbacks in this league have been possessed.
Right.
There's serious Russell Wilsons and Drew Brees, and like they're working out right now after the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of sort of projects this, maybe I would give baseball a go. It's cool. It's sort of a younger generation thing. And I think it has rubbed some of the critics the wrong way, and they haven't bought in on him. But he's showing maybe, right? I mean, he's showing this year some of those throws. Their highlight reel, Chris, this year could be some people's season highlight reel.
That'd be the St. Louis Rams highlight reel for about 8 years there. No, Steve Keim, too, deserves a lot of credit. I mean, like, they have really built a nice program there. And
another guy who has a ton of critics is Cliff. This week for the Cliff haters, is it going to be what you said? Yeah, but just wait. He won't finish.
So I was on a Arizona radio show last week, and they were 3-0. You know, so you don't always know when you're going on some market what they're going to ask about. The first question was, because they're going to play the Rams. Hey, how much better would the Cardinals be if McVay was their coach instead of Cliff? And I was just like, they're 3-0. They've scored 30 points in every game, but they had been 0-4 against the Rams, and so Kingsbury can't buy benefit of the doubt. I think this buys them some. I feel like that was a great win against the Rams to really pour it on them. I mean, they had like 200 yards rushing and 460 yards or something. They rolled them.
And here's the ridiculous irony to me is that like the McVay does all that work. I think he was like 8-0 or whatever against the Cardinals and did it all with Jared Goff. And then you get your sports car in the garage and you can't keep up with the guys in the desert. So that division's hard to figure out, but I feel like the Cardinals, listen, they played San Francisco tough. Like they beat them, in years past. They've always played Seattle tough. Seattle doesn't like seeing them up there even. And this is the last piece of the puzzle there. Now, I'm not saying they now have the Rams number, but if they feel like they can beat these guys, why not? This could be their division. If
their D-line keeps this up the whole year, because you forget Chandler Jones is coming back. They've mixed in J.J. Watt. They have a couple other guys in there that are probably a little bit underrated. And, their secondary's supposed to be vulnerable, but that's like all the teams. I mean, it's hard to find corners right now. So I think they're right in it. And they were right in it last year until Kyler got banged up. So I think it's a great division to watch, especially with 49ers losing and, Garoppolo's banged up again and Trey Lance has hardly played. And, there's an opening here. Look, Seattle won that game today. They had like 230 yards. They were 2 for 10 on third down. They didn't look good. I mean, Russell Wilson made 2 magic plays.
I don't think they're well, dude. I don't trust the Seahawks. Last week, I declared that I'm quitting betting the Seahawks. I'm 1 week sober betting the Seahawks. It's just too unpredictable. I mean, at least now they have 2 running backs, huh? This is a new look for them to have that kind of depth that they showed in the second half.
Yeah, I actually like Alex Collins. I mean, I think he gives them a little bit of a dynamic. He's the guy who did the forward somersault into the end zone today. It was a pretty nice move, scoring the touchdown. And then, Russell's Russell. I would think with their new offense, that maybe there's a little bit of a growing process here. They've been lights out in first halves today. They were terrible in the first half and really not even great in the second half. But maybe that evens out, takes a little bit of time. I think they have decent talent there. Defensively, I don't love where they're at and don't 100% trust they're going to get to where they need to be.
Yeah, I think week 1 was a major pump fake. They got a lot done in pass rush. They look pretty stingy, and it just hasn't been the same for them. I mean, how about Trey Lance? What are we looking at with this Jimmy G injury? I know it's early, but it's a calf, right? I mean, calf injuries are squirrely, and they stick around a while. And I wonder what, if there was a plan for Kyle Shanahan, what the plan's been as far as developing Trey. Has it always been, let's use him in spots, and now is he going to be forced off track on that plan?
Well, he's hardly had any reps as part of a package. It wasn't like they were bringing in for 10 plays a game or 6 plays a game. It was a play or two there. And then today he comes in and throws a touchdown pass right away, but it was a complete busted coverage. Seattle had, I think Sidney Jones has barely been there a week or 2 or 3 or something. And I think it was him. He just wasn't there. And so then it looked tough the rest of the way. So Shanahan, it was interesting. If you just sort of put your finger on the pulse of 49er Twitter and, they've had 1 winning year there, and I think people are getting a little impatient that follow that team. And so if Trey Lance doesn't come in and look good, I assume he's got a chance to start if Garoppolo's not right, I think it's going to turn on him a little bit in the court of public opinion. And so we'll see how it goes. It hasn't looked good for some of these other rookie quarterbacks when they've gone in.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, we make that point a lot. I just feel like that their outlier year was so spectacular that I think people have kind of overvalued them in the wake of that. And, they've had depth and health issues. The depth is certainly as a result of that. And I want to be fair to them. They have some great players, but, I was in Philly today for the game, and I feel like that crowd, because they played the Niners close a couple weeks ago, took a major victory out of a game like that because they're overvaluing the Niners. So, yeah, I mean, you got to be careful using the Niners as a barometer for being on the move. How about a team that kind of had a similar meteoric rise by way of like Lamar Jackson taking over the league, and the Baltimore Ravens? Are they kind of stuck? Is there anything they can do to improve? I mean, they seem like they are on the downside of that.
Yeah, I think it's just going to only get harder for them because remember, they're going to pay Lamar too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's an MVP. He makes everything go for them. And, he's made strides here or there, whatever. But I feel like their identity is so wrapped up in his ability to run and them that I don't know that they're going to just develop into a cohesive passing attack. Now, Hollywood Brown did lay out and make an amazing catch today for a touchdown, but he was open by 15 yards. It should have been caught in stride, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so, I don't know if they're going to draft receivers their way out of being who they are. And who they are isn't bad. I mean, but I think it's reliant on a style of play. And then defensively, they've taken some hits. And then, like I said, they're going to pay Lamar. So they're not going to be able to add the Marcus Peterses of the world at a big price tag, right? And they've had a little attrition on the offensive line. They traded, injury here or there. I think they're stuck in being good and are going to have a hard time becoming great.
Yeah, and it only gets tougher once you pay the quarterback. So, and I wonder what kind of money he would be commanding. I mean, if kind of the pace of his play continued through the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they won the game today. That I think he's been fine. But
yeah, I think he's been fine. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
In some cases, like in Detroit, he should have probably had a bunch more production because the guy,
his buddy,
his buddy kept dropping the ball. But wide open touchdowns. So
that's why he threw that ball so far out ahead of him. He wanted to build his confidence. It was one of those things like, hey, we need like a spectacular catch to wipe last week clean.
Totally could have punted it to him,
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But hey,
I worry about them when you've got an MVP caliber guy. You accentuate him with Villanueva, the running back. Is it Murray? Yeah, and Sammy Watkins. That's your big three. I mean, those are your free agency buys. So, and it's only going to get harder. It's kind of a bummer for Lamar. How about the Steelers? We just talked about them staying in division. What the hell do you do? Like, if you're running that organization, they kind of seem like a playoff team in a lot of areas, but they're kind of not a playoff team because of the quarterback and his lack of mobility and the way he matches up with the offensive line. What do you do? Do you stick with Ben? Do you make a move?
No, I mean, I think you stick with Ben, but I mean, I think, look, the GM's been going year to year there on his contract. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of people bailing out of there. I think this will be Ben's last year. But they've, what they've done offensively is gotten away from the sort of name coordinators who are going to get in your face if you're Ben Roethlisberger, the Wisenhunts, the Haleys, right? Those guys have some skins on the wall. They've been to Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. They're going to tell you how the offense is played, right? Mm-hmm. And they've kind of gone to guys that, I don't know, have that pedigree. And so here you are probably trying to build the offense the way Roethlisberger wants it to some degree. He's doing what he wants to do. And then your offensive line a few years ago all got old at once.
Right.
Those guys, Pouncey, Ramon Foster, Villanueva, they were good, but they've replaced them with a bunch of young guys. And then they haven't hit on those guys like Green Bay has. Green Bay's worked in young guys. Elgin Jenkins is suddenly good. Some of these other guys they got starting as rookies look pretty good. They've sort of weathered it even without Bakhtiari, their left tackle.
Right.
So that contrast, I kind of wrote about that on Saturday. It was just like, at this stage of Ben's career, he needs sort of what Green Bay has, right? He needs a Devontae Adams. He needs Antonio Brown back. He needs a good line. It has to be really right and perfect around him. And then you might get moments from him, but they can't ride him at this stage. I mean, that seems clear, and it was clear last year.
Especially when the thing that made him great for years, and we hit this last week, is his strength. I mean, he'd shake off 270-pound men. He'd escape collapsed pockets and throw the ball 40 yards down the field. I mean, that's what made him great. And when that goes, it's really hard to replicate that magic. So, especially if you can't run the ball. Which do you get the Najee Harris draft pick any more or less than you did? Yeah, I don't want to presume you didn't get it, but
I actually really liked him.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain point in the first round where if you really think you're getting a special back, like I'm not going to get all mad about it. Like, I don't like it when teams are in the top 10 and 5 and doing it, unless it's like McCaffrey or somebody who changes your offense. But I think when you start to look at the back half of the first round, there's a lot of players that miss in there, a high percentage. So would you rather have Najee Harris or some safety who barely gets on the field and isn't any good and is off your team in 3 years? Because that's the alternative a lot of the time. And I think Najee Harris is probably going to be a good back for his whole rookie contract, right? They just don't have, unless you don't like him. Am I wrong?
No, I'm not anti-Najee Harris. As a football player, if I'm Najee Harris, I maybe wish I got drafted somewhere else. It's going to be tough sledding.
Oh, I agree with that too. I think it is going to be tough sledding for that. But yeah, from a Steelers standpoint, I was like, I kind of looked at that at the time and I was like, okay, the other positions that they needed, like if you would have taken the guys there, you might not be like getting
absolutely.
Somebody.
Yeah, sometimes you got to take best available, even if you're not ready to accentuate that player's skill set. How about Dallas? They look good. I don't want to go on a limb. My take coming in today was that Carolina, they just hadn't played anybody defensively, and we made a big deal about that, and Zeke got going. You know, they gave up more yards on the ground today than I think they did the entire season on the ground. And so I wonder if today or what we've seen so far with Dallas is fluky, or do you really believe this group?
I've always been a Dallas skeptic because of the structure of their organization. I think it's hard to coach the team when your GM's like that, your owner is like that and commenting all the time. And I thought their setup's weird with McCarthy being there, but there's a different play caller. However, I think Dak's really good. And I think he's the right leader for their team. I think he's been good in 2 minutes in those types of situations already. I think he's come back really well from that injury. I think Kellen Moore does a pretty good job. They have some talent on offense. And so I think they're going to be in the mix. And I think defensively last year was just a terrible fit, of the coordinator and what they had and no camp, or abbreviated off season. I think this defense, they can actually play, and it may not be spectacular, but it's going to be decently sound. So I think they're going to be in the mix and they're going to win that division. Yeah. I was skeptical coming into the year, wasn't sure what Dak was going to look like. But I think you got to say now, after seeing them and the rest of that division, I mean, who else are you going to take in that division? They're one game ahead of Washington, but I feel like they're
light years ahead of Washington. Yeah. I mean, Washington's eking out games against Atlanta right now, which is not good. Do you think the Dan Quinn thing, Atlanta, they really struggled defensively. It kind of fell apart, and everybody goes, oh, defensive head coach, how could it be? I think sometimes these guys need to keep things simple and not have to reside over all these responsibilities as a head coach, and it doesn't reflect their skill set as play callers. And I think Dan Quinn just seems like to be happy to be back doing what he loves.
I agree. I really like Dan Quinn just as, I think if I was a player, that's a huge stretch, but I think I would like to play for somebody like Dan Quinn. I think he's a wind in your sails type of guy, right? And I think he knows what he's doing, right? I mean, he has a system they want to play, and we'll see how good that system is when you get into bigger, more important games and you get schemed and you have to scheme somebody else. But for now, they're just not horrible on defense, right? And that's what they were. They're scoring 30 points last year and losing the game. So I feel like they're sound there in what they're trying to do. They've got the quarterback. And I'm more excited about the Cowboys than I've been for a while.
You hear that? We got a Cowboy skeptic excited about the Cowboys. I don't know if that's exciting for people listening in Philly, so I apologize, guys. We'll try to keep the Cowboys praise to a minimum.